This is all blown up in footy, Caro. We'll talk about this in a bit of detail. North Melbourne's 3 first-round selections they've been given over the next 2 years at the end of the first round. Coaches last night, Chris Scott and Ross Lyon, they weren't happy.
Well, I think the real question is if you put yourself in the hole, to keep going back to head office and asking for assistance. I think there's a bit to be said, dig yourself out.
So there is a mechanism of equalisation within the competition already. If you finish second last, you get second pick in the draft. And they've had that for a number of years now because they chose to go down a certain path. But the AFL pretty quickly has got to get to the point, in my view, where they just get out of the way and let the system operate without this blatant manipulation.
For some clubs, you know, grand final day is towards the end of November, and that's because they've got all these high draft picks. That's never been our go. Our go is to put together a list, and we'll do that whichever way we think is best for the footy club. As I said, that's sometimes through the draft, but sometimes it's through trading or free agency.
That was Clarkson back in 2018 in happier times at Hawthorn, and has changed his tune understandably in the circumstance that they're in. Gil McLachlan tonight on 360 hit back at the coaches.
There's compromises everywhere. Chris has been the beneficiary of father-son for years. Ross, Mitch Owens, Marcus Windhager are academy picks. There's compromises throughout the system. Absolutely true. It's disingenuous to say get out of the way when you're everyone's been the beneficiary round about. Now debate whether it should have happened, or because they're not that bad, or it's too much. But
this is what everyone's angry about. It's the first pick in the first round this year and 2 next year. Reserve the right to review them, which was a weird clause, but they'll be flipped out, you'd think, this year.
That's a ridiculous statement because they'll probably trade them both out this year.
I think it was designed to put pressure on them to do so, wasn't it? So that's...
I think the way the AFL handled this was deplorable. You have a segment on your podcast called Taking Out the Trash. Well, they put this out an hour or two before the Brownlow count started. They released it to the presidents and CEOs then. The presidents, I don't think really a lot of them understood exactly what was going on, Matthew. The competition committee has been completely left out of this entire argument. Why even have it? There's real disappointment at Laura Kane from some clubs. I'm not suggesting this, but Laura, of course, was at North Melbourne when the initial assistant package request went in back in 2021. There's anger at Andrew Dillon, anger at Gil McLachlan, who's done this as his last sort of move, some believe, to help Alistair Clarkson.
It's like a presidential pardon, wasn't it?
I mean, Alistair Clarkson's had a really tough year. North have had so many tough years, but Damien Barrett sits on this panel on Wednesday night and for years has been saying how many chances, how many players have they allowed to come into this club and let them go. The phone calls to AFL headquarters today have been ongoing. We heard from 2 coaches. There are at least another 5 I saw at the Brownlow last night who were white with fury.
Would you have given them nothing?
I think 3 was too much.
So it'll be 9 first rounders in the last 3 years.
3 years. And I have enormous sympathy and I really admire what all the leaders at North Melbourne have been trying to do. But to do this without any consultation to the clubs and to just completely ride roughshod over the rest of them, I think it's
I'd be a little bit embarrassed if I was North asking for that.
It's not North's fault. If you're North, you absolutely
it's embarrassing
with what you've people don't remember once you've got them in. Once they become a human being, a player, people forget.
They know deep down. And if I was Chris Scott, I'd be frustrated as well because they refused to rebuild. Adelaide were in a similar...
to use father-sons a bit rich.
And Adelaide were in a...
pay for father-sons.
Adelaide were in a similar position
and you develop them brilliantly or you don't. And North haven't had that much success with their father-sons.
And they've rebuilt it on their own. And Hawthorn are doing the same now without any assistance. And... yeah, it is a little bit embarrassing.
Just on that, though, too, like, the problem with North is have they not had the right people around them? And I look at Alistair Clarkson's coaching group now that all these kids are going to walk into. And that's what he's got with him at the moment. So they've let go, guys.
They are trying to expand.
They are trying to expand.
McWalters, he's moved, Lordo. I mentioned that during the year. It'd be a great one to develop as the 2 I see.
But you need good people to develop.
Fewer after him.
And that's what he did have at Hawthorn. You know, he had Brendan Bolton was in there. And
Beveridge
Simpson.
Kelly on Cameron.
Yeah, he had some great people with him. So that's going to be the challenge for North moving forward.
It sure is.
He continues to speak about the loss of Ben Mackay as well. Here he is, Alistair Clarkson on Sports Day last night.
That's what's very, very difficult for us. You know, we spent 7 years actually building Ben up to be the player that we thought he could be for the next 7, and now he goes to the Bombers. So if you had ready-made replacements in the draft, you know, the next 2 drafts are really midfield dominant. We just can't lose him for a back-end first round or second round pick. You know, so we'll see how that plays out. But hopefully the compensation will be somewhere at the top.
We'll see where it is. But I mean, once again, it's a short memory.
This is how
they built the premierships, by poaching players from other clubs. He said, frustrated that they spent 7 years there, Mackay. Well, look at those names that came directly from other clubs that spent a lot of time there, developing there, to build that premiership dynasty under Alistair Clarkson.